There's a certain silence in a man that commands respect. It doesn't yell, it doesn't demand, and it doesn't plead. It simply exists, like a mountain, unmoved by storms. That silence, that inner control, that clarity comes from boundaries. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. It's not about avoiding relationships, but about engaging in them with strength, integrity, and reason. A Stoic man lives with intention, and nowhere is this more critical than in his relationship with women. Because make no mistake, if you don't respect your own boundaries, no one else will, especially not women. A man without boundaries is like a ship with no anchor, easily tossed, easily broken. So today we explore 5 unshakable boundaries that don't just make women respect you more. They build the kind of man women look at and say, he's different. 1. Your time is earned, not owed. The Stoic knows his time is sacred. It is the one thing he cannot get back. A man who gives his time to anyone who asks, without question, without limit, is not kind. He is careless. Women do not respect a man who has no discipline over his schedule. The man who cancels his priorities the moment she calls, who waits endlessly for her attention, who texts back instantly like a dog chasing a bone, he becomes predictable, disposable. A Stoic man guards his time with quiet firmness, not because he wants to play games, but because he knows what he's building. He doesn't sacrifice his mission for momentary validation, and when he does give his time, it means something. A woman respects a man whose time she must earn. She respects the man who doesn't bend for her because she knows no one else can either. 2. You don't tolerate disrespect, ever. A Stoic man may be calm, but he is not weak. He does not allow sarcasm to slide when it's laced with contempt. He doesn't laugh off public humiliation just to keep the peace. And he doesn't entertain women who flirt with boundaries just to test him. Why? Because respect is not a negotiation. It is a standard. The moment you let disrespect slide, through words, tone, or behavior, you teach others how to treat you. You are telling them, this is acceptable. A Stoic man is not emotional in the face of disrespect. He is decisive. He either addresses it clearly, or he removes himself entirely. And paradoxically, this quiet firmness earns more respect than any argument or angry outburst ever could. Because it shows a woman that your dignity is not for sale, that she can trust you to protect yourself, and by extension, her. 3. Your mission comes before her. This one is hard for many men, especially those raised to believe that love means sacrifice at all costs. But the Stoic knows that no external relationship should ever come before his inner purpose. Your mission, your vision, your discipline, your growth is not selfish. It is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. A man who abandons his mission to chase a woman's fleeting mood, who changes course every time she's upset, who walks on eggshells just to avoid confrontation. This man is not strong. He is lost. A Stoic man stays the course. He listens, yes. He empathizes, yes. But he does not yield his life path to emotional storms. And here's the truth. When a woman sees that your focus cannot be broken, even by her, she respects you more. She may resist at first, she may test, but deep down she admires the man who cannot be swayed by moods, because she knows that if you can withstand her, you can withstand the world. 4. You set the tone for physical intimacy. We live in a world that tells men, take what you can get. But the Stoic man knows he is the prize too. He doesn't chase validation through sex. He doesn't tolerate games or mixed signals. And he never sacrifices self-respect for a temporary high. He sets the tone for physical intimacy with clarity and intention. If she flirts to manipulate, he walks. If she withdraws affection to control, he distances. If she treats intimacy like a reward for obedience, he refuses. Because for a Stoic man, intimacy is not about conquest. It's about connection. It's not about scratching an itch. It's about shared trust. And when a man has the strength to say no, when he refuses to accept less than mutual desire and respect, he becomes magnetic. Women respect men who know their worth, not just in mind, but in body too. 5. You walk away when values are violated. This is the ultimate boundary, the line that separates the Stoic from the submissive, the lion from the lamb. A Stoic man may love deeply, he may care fiercely, but he never lets his values be compromised. If a woman lies, cheats, manipulates, disrespects, or violates his principles, he leaves. No drama, no begging, no second chances. Because the Stoic man knows, if you don't walk when your standards are violated, you never had standards to begin with. He does not confuse attachment with loyalty. He does not sacrifice peace for chaos. And he does not try to fix what is fundamentally broken. His peace is more precious than her presence. And because of this, women respect him, even if they hate him for it. Because deep down, every woman wants a man who will protect himself, a man who stands for something, a man who walks away not to punish, but to preserve. Final reflection. The Stoic man is not cold. He is not emotionless. He feels, but he does not fold. He is present, but not possessed. He gives, but only with intention. His boundaries are not walls, they are gates. Gates that open to those who respect them and close to those who don't. And in a world where so many men chase validation, abandon purpose, and compromise values just to be liked, the Stoic man stands apart. He does not need to be loved to love himself. He does not need to be feared to be respected. He simply lives by his code, and that is what makes her respect him more than any words ever could. At the core of every man who earns true respect, there lies an invisible line, a quiet force that doesn't scream or argue, but is simply there. It's not made of aggression, ego, or dominance. It's made of inner clarity. And that clarity over time creates presence. A presence that doesn't beg for attention, but commands it. That line, that force, is made of boundaries. You see, the modern world often tells men to bend, to be agreeable, to not ruffle feathers, to chase love, approval, validation, at any cost. But the more a man chases, the more he loses. Not just the woman, not just the moment, but himself. Because what he trades away is his backbone. And no woman, no matter what she says, can truly respect a man without one. A man without boundaries is like a house with no walls. Everything leaks in, everything falls apart. He becomes a man shaped by her moods, by her approval, by her attention. And when that attention fades, as it always does, so does his sense of worth. But the man who stands still, the man who listens, who feels but does not fall into chaos with her, that man becomes rare. He becomes magnetic. He becomes the one she remembers when the noise dies down. Because here's what most won't tell you. Women don't test men to destroy them. They test to find them. To find out, what are you made of? What do you allow? Where do you draw the line between patience and self-betrayal? It's not about being cold. It's not about control. It's about the quiet, firm refusal to abandon yourself for anyone. A man like this doesn't explain his standards. He lives them. He doesn't punish a woman for crossing a line, but he also doesn't remain when it's crossed. He doesn't seek revenge, because walking away with dignity is already enough. He doesn't threaten to leave to gain power. He leaves to keep peace. He doesn't trade his mission for moments. He doesn't sacrifice his purpose for passion. He doesn't let sweet words override rotten behavior. And because of that, women trust him, sometimes even more than they understand. Not because he's perfect, not because he never bends, but because he knows when to stop bending. There's a strange thing about respect. It grows in the presence of quiet, disciplined boundaries. Not arrogance, not force, but a kind of immovable calm, a presence that says, I don't need to control you, I just won't abandon myself to keep you. In that energy, a woman feels something different, something grounding, something rare. She realizes that no amount of charm, beauty, or emotion can sway this man from who he is. And oddly enough, that's when she lets go of the games. Because when she knows you won't tolerate what disrespects you, she begins to trust that you can also protect her. When she knows you won't lose yourself in her storms, she begins to relax into your strength. When she knows your world doesn't revolve around her, but she's welcome in it when she's respectful, that's when real admiration begins. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to fight. You don't even have to prove anything. You just have to know what is worth your energy and what isn't. A man who honors his own boundaries doesn't just earn the respect of women, he earns the respect of himself. And in the end, that's the only kind of respect that can never be taken away. He no longer breaks his back trying to be enough for someone who hasn't even decided if they truly see him. He no longer explains himself to people who have already made up their minds. He no longer argues to prove a point, because some things he's learned are proven best in silence and distance. His value is no longer up for debate, because now he has embraced the power of absence. He understands that walking away isn't weakness, it's clarity. It's not a tantrum. It's a quiet act of self-respect. It's not meant to hurt her. It's meant to protect what's left of himself. He's learned that not every invitation deserves a response, that not every argument requires participation, that not every woman who enters his life is meant to stay. In this new way of living, he has standards, unshakable, grounded, and non-negotiable. He doesn't chase energy that feels confusing. He doesn't hold on to someone just because of history. He doesn't stay somewhere he's shrinking just to avoid the discomfort of being alone. Because he knows now, solitude is not the enemy. In fact, it was in solitude that he remembered who he was. And it is in that remembering that he found something rare, peace. Not the kind that comes when everything is perfect, but the kind that arrives when you stop abandoning yourself for temporary comfort. That peace is what women begin to feel when they're around him. It's not in the words he says. It's not in grand gestures or rehearsed lines. It's in his posture, his tone, his gaze, his restraint. They sense that he has lived through fire and emerged more composed, not more chaotic. He is kind but not naive. He is generous but not foolish. He is loving but only to those who show they can hold his heart with care. He is no longer impressed by surface. He no longer falls for beauty that lacks depth. He no longer opens himself up to someone who does not first show respect. Because now he knows, respect is the foundation. Without it, love becomes a trap. Without it, connection becomes chaos. Without it, even the most passionate intimacy turns toxic. And so he remains calm when tested. He remains grounded when provoked. Not because he's numb, but because he's mastered the fire within him. Women who once expected to control him with silence or seduction now find themselves disarmed by his indifference to manipulation. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's outgrown the need to be needed. He's become whole. And a whole man cannot be twisted into half just to fit into someone else's expectations. He is a storm contained, a sword in its sheath, power held in restraint. And that, above all else, is what commands true feminine respect. Not fear, not control, not dominance, but mastery of self, of emotion, of energy. This man does not just live by boundaries, he embodies them. They are not rules he recites. They are the skin he wears. And in a world full of men chasing approval and hiding their truth, this kind of man stands alone, still, silent, and deeply, unquestionably respected. There is a type of man who doesn't rise through charm, money, or image, but through discipline, through scars, through hard-earned stillness. He is not the loudest man in the room. He doesn't chase attention, nor does he run from solitude. He walks into each room with a presence forged from struggle, from letting go, from facing himself in the dark and deciding no more. He knows now that strength isn't just in muscle or voice, but in what you refuse to tolerate. Before, he thought boundaries were walls to keep love out. Now he understands. They are filters. They do not repel the feminine. They refine it. They separate the ones who want access to his life from those who've earned it. Because not every woman deserves the fullness of who he is. A woman might be beautiful. She might be intelligent. She might even be emotionally expressive. But if she doesn't come with respect, he doesn't stay. Not out of pride, out of principle. He no longer entertains drama dressed as passion. He no longer mistakes emotional chaos for depth. He no longer clings to people who test his value under the mask of love. And most of all, he no longer betrays himself just to be chosen. Because he understands if you have to lose yourself to keep her, you've already lost everything. So now he lives slower, quieter, but deeper. He listens more, but speaks with finality. He smiles less, but when he does, it's real. He gives less of himself, but what he gives fully. Women feel something different around him. They feel safe, but not in control. They sense his kindness, but also that he will walk away the moment it's abused. They feel his desire, but also his detachment. This creates a tension, the kind that awakens them, challenges them, grounds them, because women do not truly respect the man who is always available, always agreeing, always bending. They respect the man who holds his frame even when tempted, the man who can love deeply but never cling, the man who is unafraid to say no, even if it means being alone. In the past, he confused silence with peace. Now he knows better. Real peace has boundaries. Real love has structure. And real masculinity doesn't fear the feminine, it simply doesn't submit to it. That's why she respects him, because she sees that he is not looking for a mother, a savior, or a fantasy. He is not searching for someone to complete him. He is already complete. He welcomes love, but only the kind that nourishes, not drains. He welcomes intimacy, but only when it's offered with honesty. He welcomes connection, but only when it doesn't cost his soul. This is a new kind of man. Or perhaps the return of the old one, the stoic, the grounded, the resolute. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need to be feared. He only needs to be clear. And that clarity of who he is and what he will allow is the reason he moves through life not begging for respect, but embodying it. He is no longer in a rush, not to explain, not to prove, not to be chosen. He has realized something most men never do, that the more you seek to be understood by others, the more you lose your ability to understand yourself. So now he speaks less, listens more, and acts only when it aligns with his core. He has outgrown the need to argue. He has outgrown emotional ping pong. He does not feed chaos just because it demands attention. He simply observes. And if the energy doesn't feel clean, he leaves. There is no longer desperation in his love, only presence. He does not try to fix broken people who refuse to heal. He does not hold hands with someone who keeps choosing fire while asking for water. He does not entertain apologies that come without changed behavior, because he finally respects himself enough to walk away from what disrespects him, even if it once meant the world. And the irony, the moment he let go of chasing respect, it began to follow him, quietly, naturally, authentically. He is not unavailable. He is selective. He is not cold. He is centered. He is not arrogant. He is clear. And that clarity is rare. Most men are still trying to earn love through effort, bending backwards hoping to impress someone who doesn't even know how to receive it. They burn themselves out trying to fix what was never theirs to carry. But he has learned the truth. Effort means nothing in the wrong direction. So now he doesn't invest in potential. He watches patterns. He doesn't believe in promises. He believes in consistency. He doesn't fall for words. He watches energy. He knows now that attraction is common, but respect is rare. And if a woman cannot respect his standards, she cannot keep his presence. This doesn't make him hard, it makes him wise. He still believes in love, but not the version the world sells. Not the one where a man sacrifices everything just to be tolerated. He believes in a love that builds, not breaks, that aligns, not drains, that reciprocates, not manipulates. And until that kind of love appears, he walks alone. Not out of bitterness, but out of reverence for his own peace. Because peace is expensive, and now he's no longer willing to pay for it with pieces of himself. He has become a man with boundaries that are not made of stone, but made of self-awareness. Boundaries that don't imprison him, they protect him. They don't keep love out. They filter for what's real. So when a woman steps into his life, she feels it. Not control, not fear, but structure. A masculine order that allows the feminine to relax, not manipulate. She feels that she cannot just say anything, do anything, demand anything, and expect him to tolerate it. Not because he's harsh, but because he's done betraying his own soul just to keep the peace. And that is the energy she respects. Not noise, not dominance, not bravado, but stillness, conviction, and the sacred power of a man who has returned to himself. In the end, the journey was never about being loved by everyone. It was about becoming a man who no longer needs to be. Because when you stop living to be liked and start living in alignment with who you truly are, something shifts. Your energy changes. Your silence deepens. Your presence speaks before your mouth does. And those around you feel it, even if they can't explain it. Women may come, some may stay, some may leave. But the man who has reclaimed his boundaries never loses himself again in the process. He walks differently now, not faster, not louder, but truer. He no longer seeks validation in someone's gaze or permission in someone's affection, because he has already looked in the mirror, faced the emptiness, and filled it with something stronger than approval. He filled it with principle. That's why he's respected. That's why he's remembered. Not because he shouted, but because he stood. A man with boundaries does not live to control the world. He lives to master himself. And in doing so, he becomes the kind of man the world cannot ignore. So to the man who walks this path, slowly, silently, but surely, know this. You are not losing anything by choosing yourself. You are simply returning to who you were always meant to be.